Hey, you made it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so right now I'm going to talk about how you can know. This is going to be a little bit expanded. So what I did on the weekly dose of empowerment is I told you and I said I'm sowing seeds, but I told you that it is possible to know if trauma is impacting you, right? And when I talk about impacting you, I'm talking about negatively impacting you, interfering with your life. It is possible to know that. And so you might be saying, okay, so how do I know if trauma is impacting me? That negative experience and my reaction, that distressing event, and my reaction to that distressing event is negatively influencing or impacting me. Okay. And that's a good question. So the first thing that you want to do is take inventory and say, okay, what experience am I reacting to? Because most of the time, what we do is we look at the external and the immediate environment, and we think that because I am, let's say you are responding a little more aggressively and it's aggression, but it's typically outside of the norm. Okay, so is your response to an event in the present more? Are you are you giving more energy to that or more aggression to that than is actually warranted? Right. So how does this look? Okay, someone cuts you off. You're driving, um, in whatever road you're on. So for me, one of the main interstates is 70 or 270. Okay, so 70 and 270. Right, 70 is where you get a really good. You can get 70, 75. So I'm driving up this road, and someone cuts me off. Right, cuts me off. All right, that's typical frustration. But if I take if I take that act of cutting me off and then I do something that is completely out of the norm, like so I ram and ram it up behind this person. Okay, is that right? So maybe you might hit the horn, specifically if it's a near miss. But if you say, okay, I'm going to show this person, and then you get fury in your eyes and you drive your vehicle and you take your vehicle and now you try to ram this person or you try to run this person off the road, that's an indication to me that there is something underneath the surface that is creating more of this response it's at work more than just the external immediate situation. So you want to be able to look at that, take inventory and say, okay, what has happened to me in the past that is outside of the norm, right? That people would say is outside of the norm. Okay. So some of the immediate things that jump out is being sexually assaulted or molested, right? Those things are traumatic in and of itself, right? It's distressing. It's not something that growing up you would expect to happen to you, right? You don't expect to get shot. You don't expect to get robbed. You don't expect to have your house burned down. You don't expect to for your house to flood or for somebody to break into your house. You don't expect those things, so they're outside of the norm and they're distressing. Now, what's your response to it? If you whitewash over it and you really don't deal with the situation, then you have lingering effects of it. And that's what I'm saying when I say is how can I know? Let me so when I said it's possible for you to know if the traumatic experience is negatively impacting you, I'm filling in some words for you. And then you say, how do I know if the trauma I experienced, the traumatic experience is negatively impacting me? List all of the things that has happened to you that would be outside of the norm. Okay. So you want to do this when you're in a calm state. List them. You don't have to go into detail. You can just say what the event is or was. And then monitor as you are writing or as you're thinking about it. How distressing is that? Can you write about it in a manner that is relaxed and is cool and you talk about it and it doesn't, it obviously will always generate some type of a response. But is that response such one that you begin to block and you cut off? Trauma is negative. That experience is negatively impacting you. That energy that you're using to block out the thoughts, the recurrence, the memories, and all of that stuff of that experience means that you have less energy to be available to you to deal with present day stuff. Okay. So you're blocking things from your past, that experience, whichever one it is, and it's impacting you, and it's impacting the energy that you have to be present in your life today. So it's like okay, got this nice little phone, right? And I take the phone and I charge it. Now, the battery life is losing, right? It's not, it doesn't charge, right? So I have it charged overnight. And even overnight, it only charges up to 70%. Well, instantly, what that means is that I cannot, there's only so much that I can do with the phone. I'm not going to talk on it all day. I'm not going to surf the web. I'm going to cut my contrast down, right? You get what I'm saying? I start adjusting things, and I start adjusting how I'm using a phone to preserve the energy. I'm not fully using it. I'm not fully using it. Um, Same thing, right? So then now let's say somebody FaceTimes you, and you've been waiting for that person to talk to them because you wanted to talk to them. All right. So now you're not only are you talking to them, but now you're monitoring your your um your battery life. And then you start panicking as the battery life gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. That's because even though you were fully charged, in this case for you, it's going to sleep at night, the fully charged, or whenever you sleep. And then you wake up, but you only have 70% of energy available to go through the rest of your day. Okay. And it makes you short tempered. It interferes with all kinds of stuff. Okay. Even though you got a full night's rest, you're not fully recharged because a lot of these situations that have happened to you in times gone by, you haven't fully recovered from them. You haven't fully integrated the experience. Okay. So that's your weekly dose of empowerment. It is possible for you to know if the traumatic experience is negatively impacting you. And I told you how to do it. So the very first thing that you want to do is write all of the distress and events that you've ever had, that you've ever encountered, and take inventory of, as you are writing them, the ones that you that you block mentally, right? It takes something, you shift, and you extend a lot of energy to try to suppress the emotional response that's bubbling up. Or maybe you say, I can't talk about that one right now. And then, okay. So that says to me, and that's your indication that the event that you experienced is a little bit distressing, and your response to it, and you haven't fully integrated. And that is one thing that you might want to begin to get some help for, seek some counseling for, seek some services for, right? Because at this point, you do not have the ability to, or the tools, you haven't developed them yet to integrate that stuff. And so getting with a competent professional would help you in that space. All right. So thank you for watching this video. I am Dr. Shern, and this is your weekly dose of empowerment.